Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Mainstream Mondays right here on Night Owl Video. Today, you might be asking yourself, didn't you just upload this review a couple weeks ago? And the answer is yes, but I made a mistake, and I can admit my mistakes. A kind viewer sent me a message to let me know that the whole time I was reviewing Robocop, I was calling Peter Weller Paul Weller. Some of you may know Paul Weller as the lead singer of the band The Jam, and I think he was the style council guy too. So apparently the whole review I did not notice, but I was saying Paul Weller instead of Peter Weller. So I thought I would be accountable, and I would re-upload this video with the correct name, which is the actor is right here is Peter Weller. So thank you to that viewer who caught that and sent me a message. I appreciate that because obviously I want to try to be as accurate as I can with these reviews. So Robocop is an action sci-fi film from 1987. It was directed by Paul Verhoeven, who also directed Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Starship Troopers, Hollow Man, and this film was written by Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner. The film stars Peter Weller, who was also in Leviathan, as well as Robocop 2, as well as more recently he was in an episode of the Cabinet of Curiosities, the Guillermo del Toro Netflix series. I believe the episode was called The Viewing. He was the main guy in that, which was really cool to see him again. I feel like I haven't seen Peter Weller in a long time, so it was kind of cool to see him in that. If you haven't seen that episode, go check it out. I might be a little biased because Panos Cosmatos is one of my favorite new directors, and I just love his style, and that episode is 100% style, along with some really good acting and creepy effects and stuff, but go check it out. Cabinet of Curiosities, the episode is The Viewing. Robocop also stars Nancy Allen, who was in Carrie, Dressed to Kill, Blowout, Strange Invaders, which I just reviewed recently. Robocop also stars Daniel O'Harely, who was in Halloween 3 and Robocop 2, as well as a lot of movies earlier before that. This also stars Ronnie Cox, who was in Deliverance, as well as Total Recall, and also stars the lovely Kurtwood Smith and Miguel Ferrer. Kurtwood Smith is the dad from That 70s Show. I forget what his name was on that show, but I always liked him in that show back in the 90s when that was on. And Miguel Ferrer was more recently on this channel. I reviewed him in Night Flyer, but I believe he was also in Twin Peaks. So there's a lot to say about Robocop, and I think in my other edition of this review that I have since deleted, I had said that there's a lot of production notes and back history to the first Robocop. Now, I should mention this is the Robocop trilogy collection, but I'm only actually talking about Robocop Part 1. But I did my best to kind of condense it to like a bite-sized review. So, in a violent near apocalyptic Detroit, evil corporation Omni Consumer Products wins a contract from the city government to privatize the police force. To test their crime-eradicating cyborgs, the company leads street cop Alex Murphy, played by Peter Weller, into an armed confrontation with crime lord Bodeker, played by Kurtwood Smith, so they can use his body to support their untested Robocop prototype, the Alan Parsons Project. But when Robocop learns of the company's nefarious plans, he turns on his masters. So yeah, this was a cop that was out doing some stuff, fighting bad guys, and he ended up getting like basically slaughtered near death, and they rebuilt him as this sort of half man, half machine. But then he starts to have these memories, right? And his partner kind of reminds him of that, and he sort of starts to have these kind of mixed feelings, if you will. I don't want to give away too much, because if you've never seen Robocop, you need to see Robocop. According to my research, the film was conceived by Neumeier while working on the set of Blade Runner in 1982. The script was purchased in early 1985 by producer John Davidson on behalf of Orion Pictures. Finding a director proved difficult. Verhoeven dismissed the script twice because he did not understand the satirical content, until he was allegedly convinced by his wife that, no, this is a really good movie with some great satire and some bite to it, and you should give it some consideration. Filming took place between August and October of 1986. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Mainly in Dallas, Texas. Rob Bottin led the special effects team in creating practical effects, violent gore, and the Robocop costume itself. So if you don't know Rob Bottin, he is I think he's somewhat retired now, but he did the practical effects for the 1982 remake of The Thing by John Carpenter. And I've seen some interviews from around that time. He just seems like a really chill, fun guy. I don't know what he's like in real life, but in the interviews he just seems like such a card. But yeah, he did a lot of the special practical effects on Robocop. Verhoeven emphasized violence throughout the film, making it so outlandish that it became comical. Censorship board believed that it was too extreme, however, and several scenes were shortened or modified to receive an acceptable theatrical rating. Robocop has been critically reevaluated since its release and has been considered one of the best films of the 80s, as well as one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. And who could argue, really, with that? Although I will say I liked it right from the first time I saw it. An experienced producer of exploitation and B-films such as the parody Airplane, John Davidson said that he was drawn to the script's satire. He showed Neumeier and minor films, including Madigan from 1968, Dirty Harry from 1971, and Mad Max 2 from 1981, to demonstrate the tone that he wanted in the film Robocop. Robocop's costume was not finished until sometime into the filming and did not impact the shooting schedule, but it denied Peter Weller the month of costume rehearsal that he would have had had it been ready. Peter Weller was frustrated with the costume. It was too cumbersome for him to move as he practiced, and he had to spend hours trying to adapt, getting used to wearing that costume in the film. And I could kind of see that if you've never seen this movie, but Peter Weller wears this big clunky costume, and yeah, at times it looks very awkward or uncomfortable, and probably really hard to move in, being an actor. So he was sort of hoping that he would have time to rehearse before they started filming, but he was not given that luxury. So I still think he did a great job despite that. Robocop's violent content made it difficult to receive an R rating from the MPAA, which restricted the film to viewers over 17 unless accompanied by an adult. It initially received the more restrictive X rating, limiting the film to those over 17. The MPAA allegedly objected to the scene of a mutated Emil being disintegrated by Boddicker's car, but Verhoeven, Davidson, and Orion refused to remove it because it consistently apparently got the biggest laughs from test screen audiences. So there's a scene, where the guy's walking down the street and Bodecker hits him with his car, and he splatters in this very extremely violent and gory. But apparently the test audiences thought that was really funny. So I love that scene. It's so over the top. So anyway, the MPAA back then, I don't know what they're like now, but they seem back then they picked away at everything. Basil Polidoris composed the film score after working with Verhoeven on Flesh and Blood. The score combines synthesizers and orchestral music, reflecting Robocop's cyborg nature. And I just recently reviewed Conan the Barbarian. Basil Polidoris also did the soundtrack for that film, and he's a master of the sort of epic soundtrack. And I know he did a lot of other work, but I always think of him from Conan. I'm not sure if I remembered that he did the soundtrack to this, but this also has a really good soundtrack. The budget for RoboCop was $13.7 million, and the box office was $53.4 million. So it did fairly well at the theater. And this came around, Aliens and Predator and a lot of those big action sci-fi, um, movies. And I think the audiences were pretty hungry for that type of movie back then. I mean, I definitely went to see all of these in the theater, though I don't think I did see RoboCop in the theater. Now that I think about it, I did see Aliens and Predator, but this was just kind of what was popular at the time. RoboCop was released on VHS in early of 1988 and had an estimated $24 million in sales. So not only did it do really well at the box office, but it also was a great success on video. Orion promoted the film by having former United States President Richard Nixon shake hands with a RoboCop costume actor. Richard Nixon was paid $25,000, which he then donated to the Boys Club of America. So I did not ever hear of that story, but I did learn that doing my research for this review. RoboCop was a popular rental, peaking at #1 in mid-March of 1988. Rental demand outstripped supply. Estimates suggested that there was one VHS copy of a film per 100 households, making it difficult to find new releases. And the waiting list for RoboCop at the video rental stores was like crazy because everybody wanted to see it. The critical reception for RoboCop, the film generally received positive reviews from critics and audiences. Many reviewers noted the film's violence. It was so excessive for Roger Ebert that the Los Angeles Times that it became deliberately comical, while Ebert writing that Ed 209 killing an executive subverted audiences' expectations of a seemingly serious and straightforward science fiction film. So for those of you who have seen the film, there is a big two-legged robot that was the prototype before RoboCop. And there's a very infamous scene at the beginning where Ed 209 goes into it, or is brought into a boardroom and subsequently blows away one of the executives of the company. And it is super violent. I remember, I think I saw this on video probably back in like 88 when it came out. But then years later, a friend of mine had like a dubbed copy of the unrated version, and that was the first time I saw like that really violent scene. And I remember we were just sitting in the living room watching it and being totally floored by how violent it was, and how, disappointed I guess we were that, the version we saw before that was the edited version, so it didn't have all that violence in it. But I actually remember, I know it might sound very like quaint or something, or like old-timey, but like I do remember sitting there watching that for the first time in like 90 or 92 or whenever that version came out, and just like thinking, oh my god, this is really intense. Like, this is very violent. My thoughts on this film. I love RoboCop. Now again, this is the trilogy series. This is a trilogy version, so it has 1, 2, and 3. But I'm just talking about RoboCop 1. But I've always loved that movie. I saw it as a teenager, and I thought it was just so cool. There was other like robots and cyborgs and things like that back then, but this one really was so over the top, and the satire and Paul Verhoeven is so good at handling that type of movie that I think with his direction and Peter Weller's acting, that it just sent it right over the top. The stop motion animation in it is really cool if you like that stuff. I love stop motion animation. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so for me that was like what I grew up with. So when I go back and get a chance to see that stuff again, and I'm talking like I used to watch Sinbad and stuff on TV on a Saturday afternoon in the summer, with the skeletons fighting and all that jazz. I've always loved the stop motion animation, so to see Ed 209 in this, there's a scene where he tries to navigate walking down a flight of stairs, and it's incredible. Like I still chuckle whenever I watch that scene. Peter Weller's so intense in this movie, portraying, this machine, but also being able to emote and show feelings and emotions, and having that realization that, like, oh my God, I'm not a robot. I was actually once a human. Um, I don't know many actors that could pull that off and pull it off really effectively in a satirical mid 80s science fiction film. I mean, he was just so good in it. Robocop 2, I don't really remember a lot about that. I know I've watched part 2 and 3 a few times, but for me, I always go back to Robocop 1. Um, just a wicked movie. The gore and violence that happens in it is really good, really well done. Rob Bottin really brought it for this film as well. And yeah, and even some of the smaller characters, like I mentioned, the Boddicker character, he was really good, and Miguel Ferrer was really good as, the person that was kind of leading the RoboCop project and trying to convince all these, bureaucrats that this was a good move and that this was going to fix our problems in the city. Um, so yeah, it was really, really good, really, really good film. I love RoboCop. Um, yeah, and also the music. Now that I realize it's Basil Polidaris, I almost want to rewatch this and just pay attention more to the soundtrack. But yeah, really good, really, really good. So you should check it out if you've never seen RoboCop and you like science fiction, 80s science fiction with a little bit of gore. Um, just that satirical stuff. If you like, say, like Starship Troopers or some of these other ones, Paul Verhoeven has done, like, it's, I would, it's adjacent to those ones. I do think of Starship Troopers a lot when I'm watching this. I don't know. This is I saw the review I did watch the Blu-ray, which looks beautiful, by the way. This has, now this is, I'm not going to say the special features because I think these are special features that are over all three, if I'm not mistaken. This set is the Blu-ray edition from 2014. So it has RoboCop 1, 2, and 3. I think I could tolerate RoboCop 2, but I think RoboCop 3 was not very good. And there was a TV series. I do have a couple of those DVDs in my collection, which have yet to watch. But RoboCop 1 on Blu-ray looked amazing, and like I said, I highly recommend this movie. Oops, there's the 3 discs there. I'll show you the back just so you can get an idea of what it is. Nothing too fancy. Those are the special features if you want to pause it. And then the other edition of RoboCop I have is this Criterion edition, which is from, I don't think there's a year actually on this. Or did I think I figured that out before. But I do believe this is a very early DVD of RoboCop. Let's see. I swear that I saw like a year on this before, but anyway, this was an early edition that I had of RoboCop, which is basically the one I watched up until I think it was last year I picked this up. This is the Criterion number 23, so this was an early Criterion. I think this DVD came out in the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken. RoboCop's from 1987. It's 103 minutes long. It's color. Trying to see, in Canada it is rated. It looks like it's rated 14 and 16 in Quebec. The province of Quebec has a different rating system, but on this edition here, which is actually still a really nice edition, there was an unrated director's cut, including excessively violent shots cut from the theatrical release to avoid an X rating, which is what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Audio commentary from director Paul Verhoeven, co-writer Edward Neumeier, executive producer John Davidson, and Robocop expert Paul M. Salmon. It also has film to storyboard comparison, storyboards, an illustrated essay on the making of Robocop, theatrical and teaser trailers, and more. So yeah, this is still I did upgrade to a Blu-ray, but I think I'm still going to hold on to this just because it is such a great edition. Actually, on the back of this, there is a shot of Ed 209. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's Ed 209 there, and he's shooting this guy, and so that's actually the very infamous ultra-violent scene that was cut from the original version. But you can currently watch this on Prime in Canada if you have a subscription. As of the recording of this video, obviously I can't guarantee that for eternity, but right now in Canada, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can watch it there. You can also rent it on Apple TV and Google Play. That's my thoughts on Robocop Part 1. Let me know what you thought about this movie. Did you like it? Was it a little too violent for you? Who knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed recently and given me the thumbs up and all that jazz comments. Thank you to that viewer for, hopefully I didn't say Paul Weller during this review. Peter Weller is the main actor in Robocop and plays Robocop. So I do apologize for that mix-up. I have actually been listening to The Jam a lot, and so I think I had like Paul Weller on my brain, which is why I kind of like swapped them out. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Robocop. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought about it. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Follow me over on Instagram at Night Owl Video. And until next time, I will see you at the video store or at the thrift store or just out and about somewhere, hopefully not being chased down in the streets by Ed 209. But until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.